Before I get to today's, this session's subject, superimposition and desuperimposition, which, believe me, is not what I would choose for a post-lunch session. But before that, something that Atma Rupanji was speaking about, the different paths, yoga and jnana and bhakti and karma. I was reminded of an interesting incident that happened in Gangotri. I was there in the high Himalayas for some time, and I came across a number of interesting characters. So one of these was a young monk. He was a Nepali monk. He was in his early 20s, and he used to live in this cave. And he would come out of the cave and sit on a ledge and meditate, it's like a poster for an Indian yogi. With something like dreadlocks and sitting like this, and there's a waterfall just below him. It's spectacular. So I made friends with him, and he was practicing yoga to attain samadhi. Patanjali yoga, he was practicing yoga to attain samadhi. So we used to have discussions. He was a yogi. His name was, if I remember correctly, Shiva Harigiri. So in the conversation, of course, I brought up Advaita, and I asked him, this is what an Advaitin and a yogi, they think of each other. So I asked him, what about the yoga, of course, is good, but what about Advaita? Don't you like Advaita? Because I know, because his title is Giri, which he belongs to one of the 10 orders of monks started by Shankaracharya. So I happen to know that when they are initiated into sannyasa, into the vows of monasticism, the little bit of study of the Upanishads and of the commentaries of Shankara, in most cases, sometimes they don't know Sanskrit, so it's just in the Hindi translations. It's done, so they have some acquaintance. I knew he know something about Advaita at least. So I asked him, what about Advaita? Don't you like Advaita? And he said, in Hindi I'll translate, he said, it's alright, but they talk a lot, they have no experience. In Hindi, he said, Advaita ठीक है, Advaita is all right. लेकिन बहुत बात करते हैं, अनुभव नहीं है. They talk a lot, they don't have experience. So they keep giving talks and reading books and arguing. So for this afternoon session, to wake you up, I'm going to perform a magic trick. I'm going to make a pot disappear. I'm going to make a pot disappear. And this is going to be done in 4 stages. So just imagine that there is a pot in my hand. Just imagine that there's a pot in my hand, and no, it's not going to be that cheap a trick. It's gone. Look. No, not that way. Just imagine that there's a pot in my hand, and now stage 1, I'm saying that this pot is made of clay. So the pot is, in philosophical language, the pot is an effect, and its cause, material cause, by cause I mean material cause, is clay. In Indian philosophy, they talk about different kinds of causes, material cause and instrumental cause. Like the pot, the clay would be the material cause, the potter would be an instrumental cause or an intelligent cause. Different names are there, nimitta karana, upadana karana. So I am talking about the pot is an effect, and it has a cause, a material cause, the material out of which it is made. The material cause is clay. So this is stage 1. I'm telling you about what it is made of. Its material cause is clay. Now, if you ask, I can see the pot, where is the clay? I say, stage 2, look at the pot. what you are touching is clay. When you look inside, it is clay. The top of it is clay. The bottom of it is clay. In fact, you notice it is through and through clay alone. The pot is through and through. It's just clay. The weight of it is the weight of clay, and so on. So the whole thing is made of clay. That's stage 2. And stage 3 is, notice that there is no substance, no reality, second reality called a pot apart from the clay. There is no real, second real thing called pot apart from the clay. Notice I've introduced, we have 2 names now, clay and pot. We had started with the pot, but we have 2 names now, clay and pot. And we have discovered in the second stage that the pot is pervaded through and through, is composed of, made of, every bit of it is clay. So in the third stage we realize that there is really no second thing called pot. What do I mean by second thing? Can I show you the pot apart from the clay? If I take the clay away, can I show you the pot? No. Then there is no independent reality called pot. Independent, 2 things are independent realities, like this gadget and the book. If I can show them, we can experience them separately, independently of each other. Here is one, here is the other. And so they are independent, they're separate realities. But with the clay pot, you cannot do that. You can't experience the pot apart from the clay. Though notice, you can certainly experience the clay apart from the pot. It could be a lump of clay. It could be broken pieces of a pot. It's no longer a pot, potsherds. It could be broken. By the way, if you are thinking, what's with all these pots? Why? What's the relationship between Advaita and pottery barn? It's just because I guess pottery was a very common thing in ancient cultures. If you dig up, if you go to an archaeological dig all around the world in any kind of ancient culture, what's the first thing you'll find? Pottery, pieces of pottery. So it's not only was the most common thing, I guess, around, artifact, but also most lasting. Not relevant, but I can't resist this. It's interesting that quite some time back in India, in order to prevent pollution, people in the trains, they take tea in the paper cups and they throw it out, and it just creates a horrible mess. And paper cup is still fine. Plastic cup, you can imagine, it's a horrible mess. So one of our ministers came up with a bright idea that if you can make clay cups, but in India it was very traditional to have clay cups, little cups of clay, and they would put the tea in that, and you can drink, and that's environment friendly, and so that's biodegradable, and you can just toss it. Even if you toss it aside, it goes back to the earth, and that's what he said, and he started it. I mean, he encouraged it. It's there. It's common. You don't have to start it. But then somebody wrote a column about it, which I read, and said the honorable minister is mistaken. Clay pots are the least biodegradable of all things. After all, what do you find in an ancient archaeological the pot? Nothing has survived of the great civilization except the pot. The pot doesn't go away. It's true. Once you bake the pot, once you bake it, once it is burnt and baked, it doesn't degrade. But yes, it's not harmful to the environment because it's made of clay. Yeah, that's true. So the third step is, you notice that there is no thing called a pot. No separate thing called a pot. There is only the cause, which is clay. Are you with me so far? You say, what do you mean there's no thing called a pot? What are you holding in your hand? You're holding clay. Yes, I'm not denying that it has a shape. I'm not denying that it has a name pot. I'm not denying that you can store water in it. Name, form and usage. Nama, Rupa, Vyavahara. It's there. But in Advaita, we're interested in the substance, in the reality. What's real there? What is it? It's clay. It's clay. See, it's also a pot, also, but only nominally. It's not clay plus. When you say also, do you mean and? It's clay and a pot? No, it's not clay and a pot. If it was clay and a pot, show me the pot apart from the clay. You can't. So the cause alone persists, the effect is recognized to be only an appearance. When I say the effect has disappeared, it's only an appearance. It still appears like that, but now there's no thing called a pot. The thing is clay. From the point of view of clay, it's only there. Stage 4, last stage, if no thing called a pot has been produced, if there is no new thing called a pot, it is clay. A new shape, of course, but it is clay, no new thing. In that case, in what sense is clay a cause? If an effect has not been produced, then why are you calling the clay a cause? Let me repeat that. Cause produces an effect. If both are real, if there's a real effect, then we can say the cause is also real. Cause is real means cause is really a cause. It produced something. What did the clay produce? Don't say pot. Nothing. It doesn't produce anything. It's still clay. If it did not produce a real effect, then is it really a cause? I know, it is the cause of the pot appearance. But the pot appearance is nothing different from the clay itself. So the clay is not really a cause. The causality of the clay is lost. What are you left with? The clay alone, neither cause nor effect. Stage 4. And if you think, you look puzzled, so what did you accomplish by this? Notice that the pot has disappeared. Now you're left with clay. You started with a pot. Everybody called it a pot, and you use it like a pot, and it's called a pot. And then at the end you end up with clay. Exactly the same thing. I've not done anything to it. It's there. But now you recognize it is clay and clay throughout. When your attention is on what is called in Sanskrit tattvam. Tattvam means reality. Tattva drishti. That means your vision is on the reality. You started with what is called pot drishti and ended up with clay drishti. You start up with pot paradigm and end up with the clay paradigm. Pot vision and clay vision. That means pot paradigm and clay paradigm. If you say, what's the point of all of this? The point is this. We start off with the universe. Here I am, here is the universe. And all the objects of the universe. And now, that is, the Vedanta teacher comes and tells us, we introduce something called existence, pure being, isness. Stage 1. We started with the pot and somebody introduced clay, told you that there is something called clay, which is the cause of this. So the material cause of this entire universe is Sat, pure being. Stage 1. Stage 2, when you looked for the clay, where did you find it? In the pot. Where in the pot? All throughout. Just the pot, throughout, through and through. Look for existence. Look around the universe for existence. Everything, all things which exist, and they are manifesting existence. Being, isness. I know what trips us up is this. We normally don't think about existence in that way. In fact, we don't even think about existence until something does not exist anymore. Then we miss it. But existence is a very interesting thing. Most interesting thing of all. There was a great philosopher called Heidegger in the 20th century. Perhaps the most profound thinker that the 20th century has produced, maybe even more than Wittgenstein. He's not very popular because he got mixed up with the Nazis and so he's under a cloud. But probably if you ask philosophers anywhere, they will say maybe the most profound thinker in the 20th century was Martin Heidegger. And why was he profound? Because he asked a question which has not been asked in the West for about 2000 years, since the Greeks. He asked the question, what is existence? Not what are things which exist. People have asked, what is the world, what is time, what is space, what is God, what is soul? But these are all things which exist. But what is existence itself? It's the most abstract of questions you can ask and yet the most concrete. It is the deepest question you can ask. It's the nearest, closest question is, why does anything exist at all? It could have been absolutely nothing, or could it? So he asked this question. So think about existence itself. You know what it's like? When you look at the ocean out there, you see lots of waves. Now let me ask you, waves have water. Is it an accurate way of saying it, or water appears as waves? Each wave has its little bit of water in it. Is it an accurate way of speaking, or is it better to say that water appears as different types of waves or different sizes of waves? Water appears as waves. Now think about it this way, looking around. Things exist. People exist. Chairs exist. The hall exists. Sky exists. Is. Cars and buses and trains and planes and stars and earthworms exist. All right? Now, this is the way normally we think about it. What Vedanta does is reverses it. It says all that exists is existence only. Existence is the reality. And it appears as a chair, as people, as different names and forms, houses and stars and planets and earthworms and dolphins. They're all existence with different names and forms. Can you make the switch? Dolphin exists. It's like saying that dolphin has some kind of existence. Vedanta reverses it. Existence dolphins, we can say. Existence peoples. Existence chairs. So, think about all the things having existence. All the things. Now you will feel, when you think about it like that, you will feel you are in an ocean of existence. All things here are waves in that ocean of existence, including us, these bodies also. This is stage 2. First, what was the stage? World and existence. Existence is introduced. Second stage, you find in all the things here, there is existence. Existence alone is appearing in these ways. Third stage, is there a world or universe apart from existence? Is there a universe or a world apart from existence? Are these two independent things, existence, universe? It can't be, logically impossible. If something is apart from existence, if something is different from existence, what will it become? Non-existent. Non-existence. It will disappear. If I take the wood out of this lectern, the lectern disappears. If I take the water out of a wave, the wave disappears. If I take an existence out of a thing, it becomes non-existent. So if you think about it that way, existence is the only reality through and through. There is no second reality called the universe. Existence is real. Universe is an appearance. Brahma Satyam Jagat Mithya. Yeah. Just like gold and ornaments, like water and waves, like iron and in Upanishad, Chandogya Upanishad, thousands of years old, they give the example iron and nail cutters, which means they had nail cutters at that time. Nakani Krintana. Iron and nail cutters. Existence is the very stuff of reality. So normally we don't talk about it. That's why it seems strange. But why should it seem strange? Because what we come into in contact with all the time is existence. You don't come into contact with non-existence. You can't. So third stage is there is no such thing as a world. It is being and being alone. Existence and existence alone. Heidegger was concerned with this question of being. Existence and existence alone. Fourth stage. If there is no real effect called the world, why do you call existence a cause? The causality of existence is lost. Existence remains, but it's no longer a cause of anything else apart from itself. It can't be apart from itself. So let me repeat the 4 stages. Clay and pot. First, you have a pot. The idea of a clay is introduced. That it has a cause. It has a material out of which it's made, clay. You have the universe. The idea of existence is introduced. Stage 2. In the pot, look for the clay. Everywhere you find clay and clay alone. In the universe, look for existence. Everywhere you find existence and existence alone. Stage 3, there is no second reality called pot apart from clay. There is no second reality called universe apart from existence. Logically impossible. A logician will tell you, apart from existence, non-existence. Fourth stage, then the clay is not. Remember, we had introduced clay as cause of the pot. Now at the end of the process, fourth stage, what are we saying? Clay is not a cause of the pot or anything else. Why? Because there is no thing called pot. What did it produce? What effect? You're calling it a cause because it has an effect. But where is the effect of the clay? There's the pot, you're holding it, but that's clay. It sounds bewildering, but it's true. Similarly, apart from existence, there is no second reality called the world. Therefore, existence of pure being is not a cause of anything. It did not produce anything real. Hence, it's not a cause. The causality of existence is disappears, and existence alone remains. Pure being alone remains, neither cause nor effect. In Sanskrit, karya karana vilakshana sat, karya karana vilakshana atma. This is so, that existence thou art. That pure being. In the Chandogya Upanishad, teacher says to Shvetaketu, tat tvamasi, that thou art. That what? Tat sat, that being, that pure being. You are that right now. That is what you are. And that existence is also awareness. We experience it as isness awareness, insight. So this process is called superimposition and desuperimposition. In order to understand the reality, you start off with what you accept. You accept a pot. This is what was the reality. Now what is introduced? Cause of the pot. Now you have two things, cause and effect. Why two things? Two names, clay, pot. Two names. So what do they refer to? Pot refers to this and clay refers to its cause. But as you go through the process, you find the effect is pervaded through and through by the cause. The pot is pervaded through and through by clay. You find there is no real thing called an effect. There is no real thing called a pot apart from the clay. The cause alone is real. The effect is an appearance. And then finally you end up with this. If the cause alone is real and the effect is an appearance, then why call it a cause? What is it a cause of? So it's not a cause. It alone remains, clay alone remains, neither cause nor effect. Universe, its cause is Sat, being. And then second stage, being pervades the universe. If it did not, things would not exist. And third stage, the universe is an appearance. Being is the only thing that there exists. Fourth stage, then being is not a cause also. It's neither cause nor effect. The cause-effect, transcending cause and effect, pure being alone is the reality of the universe. This is Advaita. Other than being, there is no second reality, though the entire universe appears. There is a book, Why Does the World Exist? Jim Holt. It's a book I really loved reading. He is a science journalist in New York. He asked this most fundamental of questions. Why does the universe exist at all? Why does the world exist? And he takes this question to theologians and philosophers and scientists and mathematicians, and what answers he got from the leading thinkers in the world today. He has put it in that book. It's really worth reading and thrilling. It takes you to the edge of thought in every field. So I was waiting to see, does he ever mention Brahman or Sat or Vedanta? And interestingly, after taking up theory after theory after theory, and there are problems with each theory, very interesting. Mathematics, computer science. There's a chapter on information theory and existence. And the name of the chapter is unforgettable. It from bit. It from bit, the computer bit. For example, he says, can the whole universe, can something come out of nothing? Apparently not. If there's nothing, how can something come out? But he says in mathematics it's possible. You have zero. Nothing. Zero. In mathematics. Zero. A mathematician told him this. You have zero. But zero is what? Plus 1 and minus 1 are zero. Plus 1, plus 2. Minus 1, minus 2. Zero. You can generate the entire series, infinite series of positive integers, provided you generate the infinite series of negative integers, and the sum total is zero. You have got the whole of arithmetic from nothing. It's still nothing. Zero. So like this book is literally bubbling with the most extraordinary ideas and theories. But each has a problem. Each theory, each approach has a problem. And so finally, Jim Holt Holt, Jim Holt. What is the name of the book? Why does the world exist? What could be simpler? You should thank me, I've been promoting his book. At the end of the book, finally, he is interviewing Robert Nozick, who was a leading philosopher of mind here in the United States. He passed away recently, I think. So Robert Nozick says, look, all these theories are failing, so we don't have any good answer anyway. And then finally, Robert Nozick tells Jim Holt, there is one theory, which is called the Advaita Vedanta. I said, at last we come to it. And then in one paragraph, Jim Holt sort of gives a vague description, not a very precise description of Advaita Vedanta. And then he says, yeah, but the problem is this is too much, I can't believe it. So he moves ahead. There's no fault as such in the theory, in the philosophy, but it says it's too crazy, I can't believe this. There's only one absolute reality, pure being, and I am that, and that's the explanation of the universe. No, this is too crazy, let's move on. So sort of passing by, but it's very interesting that he mentions it. So this is called the method of superimposition and desuperimpposition. Why is this done? In order to show us a reality which we would not understand otherwise. We think pot is the reality. If somebody comes and tells you, no, it's clay. What is this clay? Introduce. Clay is the cause, pot is the effect. Clay is inherent in the pot. Okay. Where is the pot apart from the clay? Nowhere. Therefore it is clay alone. Voila. Done. So why was this done? That cause and effect introduced? Listen, when we begin, we have only the pot. No cause, no idea of cause and effect, nothing like that. Then cause and effect is introduced. And at the end, cause and effect is removed. But our whole vision has changed. The idea is not clay and pot. The idea is Brahman and the universe. We started with material universe. Here is the universe. We end up with one spiritual reality, pure being. This is the magic that's accomplished. This is called superimposition, desuperiimposition. Swami Vivekananda called it hypnotization and dehypnotization. We are already hypnotized and then dehypnotization. In Sanskrit, it is called adhyaropa apavada. Adhyaropa, superimpose. Not impose. Imposing is putting something on another. But superimposition is, it's not that you put a snake on the rope. The rope is mistaken as a snake. That is superimposition. When you realize that the so-called snake is nothing but a rope, that is desuperiimposition. Not that there are two. There seems to be one, but that's an error, mistake. A second one is introduced, and then you see the first one was error, not there. Second one alone remains as the reality. Similarly, for this universe, start with the universe, introduce a cause, Brahman. And then steadily proceed to show Brahman alone is the reality. That's what you're experiencing as the universe. If you stop in between, it can lead to problems. Alan Watts mentions it. He says the clay and pot is a wonderful example, but if you stop in between, you have two things, clay and pot. He said then it becomes a crackpot theory. He calls it. That's the problem with dualistic religion. You stopped in between, from an Advaitic point of view. You say there is the world and there is something called God. The moment the scientist and the atheist attacks you, where is your God? Show me. Literally no way of showing. There is the body, mind, and an immortal soul. The Buddhist attacks you. The Buddhist says, here is the body, here is the mind, where is your immortal soul? Show me. You can't. This was a 1,000-year debate between the Indian dualists, the Hindu dualists, the Naiyayikas, and the Buddhists. So, and it was good. It led to a flourishing of Indian philosophy. Tremendous amount of debates and development of logic. So many books were written. Indian philosophy became really rich. But it's an answer you get only in Advaita Vedanta. What appears to be body, mind, and universe is in reality, that's Satchidananda. Not that there are two things. One body, mind, universe, and another one is Brahman. No. The appearance is body-mind universe, person and subject-object. The reality is that. Swami Vivekananda says, one only exists. It appears as nature, soul. One only exists, appears as nature and soul. This is called adhyaropa apavada. In the Sanskrit, there is a verse which says, what is the purpose of this whole superimposition, desuperimposition? Nishprapancham prapanchate. That which is completely transcendental, beyond this our range of experience, that is shown. It can't be explained. You have to catch it intuitively. Like the 10th man. You have to catch it intuitively. So that is done by this process of superimposition to desuperimposition. Let me give you a couple of examples more. One student went to the teacher and said, "Sir, what is space? Teach me what is space." The teacher said, "Space? Right there, in front of you." "Oh, you mean the ashram, the monastery?" No. Beyond that." "Oh, you mean the garden?" No, beyond that." "Oh, you mean the fence and the road?" No, you don't understand." "All right, I understand the problem. Stay in the monastery for some time." And so he gave him a routine, early in the morning you have to do this and that. And his main work was he would plant sunflower seeds in the garden and tend to the saplings and, work in the garden. And so the sunflower seeds would grow into plants, sunflower plants. And weeks passed and months passed, and the sunflower garden was really, they grow quite tall and the flowers are big. So it filled the entire front of the monastery, and there was all this big sunflower plants. One day in the morning, when the disciple was about to water the plants, the teacher said, "No, today take this sickle and cut them all. Come on, quick, up, fast. Cut all the plants. Just clear the whole thing." So the disciple started working fast. The entire thing, which was full of sunflower plants, just imagine, tall plants blocking the entire view. He cut it, and within the hour it was finished. It was all wiped out. And then the teacher said, "Look, space." The disciple said, "Oh." Now the teacher had to fill it up first and then remove it. So that something which is very subtle, right there, but the disciple didn't appreciate it, that is now appreciated. Space, okay. This is superimposition, desuperimposition. Another example. This is a nice one. This is a mathematical example. A man in India, rich man, he died leaving his elephants to his children. Okay. This requires some explanation. In ancient India, and in some parts even now, there are, so it was considered a mark of wealth to have elephants, to have your personal elephants. And it's coming to the English language. Having a white elephant is a name for a government project which just eats up money and doesn't deliver. So it's called a white elephant. That's what it is. An elephant, if you own an elephant, you must be really rich, because it eats a lot, takes a lot of maintenance, and it's no good. It doesn't do anything to you. You might go for a ride on your elephant and feel good about it. Take it for a spin. But that's all. It doesn't do any good. So you must be really rich to afford an elephant. So this man was rich. I remember when I was a new novice in our ashram, the head, they're called Mandaleshwars. They are senior monks high up in the hierarchy of traditional monasteries. So one of them came to visit in Deoghar, and he met our head, who is Swami Suhitanandaji at that time, and asked our head, "How many elephants do you have?" And our poor Swami, he said, "I don't have elephants, I have a few cows, but Deoghar is famous for its cows, but I have no elephants." And this visiting senior, pontiff, he said, "Well, I have 5 in my ashram, so listen to me. That means I'm dominant over you, so you listen to what I've got to say." So this rich man, he left his elephants to his sons. He had 3 sons, and his property was elephants, and he left it, and he said, "We divide it. The eldest brother gets half of the elephants, and the middle brother gets 1/6 of the elephants, and the youngest gets 1/9 of the elephants." But the only problem was he had 17 elephants. But you can't cut the elephants. So you have 17 elephants. What's half of 17? What is indeed 1/6? So what is even 1/9 of 17 elephants? The poor kids were scratching their heads. Why did dad give us such an insoluble problem? When his dad's friend their father's friend happened to come by on his elephant. He was also rich, so he was out for taking the elephant out for a stroll. He was sitting on the elephant. He came by and said, "What's the problem? This is the problem. The will says we have to divide the elephants in, one half and 1/6 and 1/9. But there are only 17 elephants. What do we do?" So this man says, "Oh, that's not a problem. I give you my elephant. Here's the elephant. I give it to you." He doesn't even get down from the elephant. He says, "I give it to you. Now you have 18. So the eldest brother gets half, 9. And the second brother gets 1/6, which is 3 elephants. And so 9 plus, 1/3, I think. Yeah. So 6 elephants. So he gets 9 plus 6 is 15. And the other brother gets 1/9, which is 2. 18 by 9 is 2. So 17 elephants, and I take my elephant back." He didn't even get down from the elephant. Yeah, I got that wrong. So it is half and 1/3 and 1/9. So half of 18 elephants is 9 elephants, and 1/3 of 18 elephants is 6 elephants, and 1/9 of 18 elephants is 2 elephants. So 9 plus 6 plus 2 is 17. Done, and 1 elephant withdrawn again. That is superimposition and desuperimposition. The elephant was introduced, not really given, and then withdrawn. Problem solved. Problem solved. So this whole idea of Brahman, and see, how is it done in Vedanta? One teacher said in Hindi, "Adhyarop apavad to Vedant ka hriday hai." This method of superimposition and desuperimposition is the heart of Vedanta. You have to understand what is going on in Vedanta. So how is it done? Everything that you see in the teachings of Vedanta is the introduction of the elephant and withdrawal of the elephant. So in Taittiriya Upanishad, we find, "You are the infinite existence consciousness bliss." I don't know how. Okay, I'll show you. Here is the physical sheet, Annamaya Kosha, the vital sheet, the Pranamaya Kosha, the mental sheet, Manomaya Kosha, the intellectual sheet, Vijnanamaya Kosha, the sheet of bliss, Anandamaya Kosha. And then there's a process by which you trace it back and you realize, I am pure consciousness. Now, Vedanta and the Upanishad, they are not interested in the sheets. If you say, what is the teaching of the Taittiriya Upanishad? Oh, Panchakosha, 5 sheets. Not at all. You haven't understood Vedanta. They're not at all interested. It's not about 5 sheets. It is about Brahman, pure existence, consciousness, bliss. And to draw your attention, he said, start with the body. Yeah? Look inside, the prana. Yes? Look inside, mind. Look inside, intellect. Look beyond that, the causal body, Anandamaya Kosha. And then there's a particular technique by which you realize, I am the being, a consciousness in all things. That is the point. The point is not the 5 koshas. In the Mandukya Upanishad, see, what is the Mandukya Upanishad about? Everybody says, the 3 states, waking, dreaming and deep sleep. Nothing could be further from the truth. Mandukya Upanishad is not interested in waking, dreaming and deep sleep. It's just a way of drawing your attention to something underlying all of them. So people get entangled in that. They say, no, isn't there another state called samadhi, or what about coma, or something like that, in between state? Whatever it is, Mandukya is not interested in the states. States of, it's interested in what is experiencing those states. And it's using waking, dreaming, deep sleep to point to the real you. One student came to a teacher and was asking, saying, I've got these problems, and the teacher, the non-dual teacher, suddenly burst out. Rather cruel, I'm not interested in your problems. But shocked. I'm interested in you. You see, immediately a gap opens up between you and your problems. Your problems are all false from an Advaita point of view. They appear, shine and disappear in the completely unproblematic consciousness which you are. So, once you catch that, these things matter very little. But these can be used to point to the real you. So, this is the Drigdrishya Viveka. You think Advaita is interested in Drig and Drishya? Not at all. It is used to point out that which is neither the seen nor the seer. You see, the seer is always the seer. Not really. You are the seer of the universe, body, mind, yes? Then when you realize I am the witness consciousness, the next stage is absorb the universe, body, mind back into the witness consciousness. That it is all I alone. Then who is seeing what? But the consciousness of the seer is not lost. Upanishad says that the consciousness is there, but it no longer can be called a seer or a seer of anything. It can no longer be called a cause. But it exists, and that's what you are. Good, I finished before time. Very good. Questions? Yes, let's go. So you can ask questions from, you don't have to ask it just about superimposition or superimposition, anything from Advaita series. Yes.
Thank you, Swamiji. It just occurred to me, so consciousness and existence are synonymous, obviously. But if there was a fundamental non-existence, it would also have to be in consciousness, right? So in that sense, consciousness is more primary than existence.
All right. Consciousness and existence are the synonymous, obviously. They are not obviously synonyms.
No.
Why? Consciousness, the way we ordinarily understand it, existence is fundamental. But all existence need not be conscious. You exist and you are conscious, obviously. But then these things in the world exist. These things we normally don't think that they are conscious. These non-living things, we don't think they are conscious. Yeah, but that's from, again, you're speaking from an Advaitic perspective. After a lot of Advaitic training, we begin to see it's in consciousness. But what's the common sense view? They're not in consciousness. I am conscious of them and they exist outside my consciousness. That's the common sense view. Right? The world exists, I come to be conscious of it. That's the way people think about it. Even science functions that way. Right. So, existence is primary, and consciousness, some existence can be some existence can be conscious, like us, for example. We exist and we are conscious. So what was the second part of the question again?
Well, what I'm saying is if there's a non-existence,
Yes.
it would have to be in consciousness.
True.
Nothing can be separate from that.
True. But consciousness in itself is not primary because they are, in Advaita Vedanta the two are identical. Because a non-existence consciousness would disappear. If consciousness is different from existence, what will happen to their consciousness? If consciousness, what is existence? Is. So consciousness is. But if I take the is away from consciousness, what happens to consciousness? Is not. Disappears. And the other part is a little difficult to understand. Existence, if it is also not in consciousness somehow, what is the proof of such an existence? There is no proof. There is no proof. You might say at this point that let there be no proof, but let there be things in the universe which exist and we don't know of them. They are not in consciousness, but they could very well exist. They are not in consciousness. When I say in consciousness, I mean the very possibility that they could be perceived or known, that there can be objects to consciousness. But suppose there are things which are not known. Nobody knows them. But there are many people will say the common sense view of the universe. There are millions of planets and stars there. There's no consciousness watching anything. But that way of talking will make it that then anything could exist. If you admit that there are existences which are forever beyond consciousness, which cannot be objectified ever. What exists now is still amenable to being objectified by consciousness. If you go there, you could see it. If you have scientific instruments, you could experience it. But if there is something which exists and never an object of consciousness, never appears to consciousness, then you can say anything can exist. You just say that it exists, but we cannot know it. Then you can say you can multiply entities without end. So in Vedanta, existence and consciousness are synonymous. They are the same real in the ultimate sense. In the ultimate sense, in a vyavaharika transactional world, there may be many things which we are not conscious of. They are not in our empirical consciousness. But in pure consciousness and pure being, they are one and the same. There is a story in Uttarakhand, in the Himalayas, where there is a dualist, a Nyaya philosopher. He comes and challenges the monks who are non-dualists to a debate. He sits there and is surrounded by these hills, and the people in the debates, they're like gladiator combat. The public will turn up to listen to who wins, the dualist or the non-dualist. So the dualist scholar turns up and says, "What? These non-dualists say the world is false. Look, those mountains right behind you, the huge. They're not mountains exactly, they're hills. Those hills, are they false? Do they look false to you? Those hills right there?" Now the greatest scholar at that time, then among the non-dualists, the monk who was the leader of the non-dualist monks at that time, he was a very saintly man. And he knew that he would be called upon to debate when this challenger comes. And he didn't want to get involved in these debates. So he said, "I have a fever, I can't go to the debate." Immediately goes under his blanket and puts a blanket on her fever. And now this dualist is coming and challenging non-dualists and saying, "Is the mountain false? Is the hill false? How crazy? Look, it's so real. It's right there in front of you." So the monks get worried and they run to this great non-dualist who has a fever and say, "Swami, you must come. We are taking a beating. The dualists are winning. The world is becoming progressively more real." He said, "I can't. I have a fever." Now, one of the attendants, who's a young novice who knows the ways of his master, he said, "Let me try." He says, "Swami, what? Can't you see I have a fever?" "No, Swami, you don't have a fever. You can." He says, "I don't." "No, you don't. Just see." He gets up from the blanket and under the blanket and he says, "You're right, I don't have a fever." "Now what is it that you want?" He said, "To come and debate the challenger." So he walks off. It's supposed to have really happened. And he goes off to the place where the debate is going on, and the dualist says, "These hills, they are not real? They are appearances? False? How can it be? These are real." And this non-dualist Swami just says quietly to the dualist, "Which is first, you or the hill? Your awareness or the hill?" Others look puzzled, and this dualist, he bows down and he leaves the place never to come back again. Because he's a sharp debater, he knows he has lost the debate. What is primary? Can you prove the existence of a hill without consciousness? Can you prove anything without consciousness? Universe, science, religion. In consciousness you are theist or atheist. In consciousness you are an agnostic. In consciousness you are a scientist, writer, philosopher. Dualist, non-dualist. In consciousness. But this consciousness, I don't mean the empirical consciousness which we have. I mean what we discovered by those pointers, the background consciousness. In consciousness, all of this is there. If you want me to put it simply, it's this. The same thing I said. Two things are independent if you can show them separately, if you can experience them separately, if they can present themselves separately. So this book and this gadget are independent because I can experience this book apart from the gadget, I can experience the gadget apart from the book. They don't go together. Can you experience anything apart from consciousness? It's a trick question because the word experience has consciousness built into it. Right. So nothing can be proved without consciousness. The existence of anything without consciousness is impossible to prove, logically. Okay. I'll come forward. Gentleman there.
Oh, I think there's a second.
Oh, the lady there, yes.
I have a question on causation. That it is true that the part doesn't have an independent existence unless clay lends itself. So it's sort of in association that causation relationship occurs. Without that association, there is no causation. So I exist. And I am different from the world. But then you have to imbue that I-ness to the universe. Earlier in the course talk, Swamiji mentioned that expansiveness. So my question is, why the pot and the clay example lends very well to see how there is no causation, at the same time there is cause. Vyavaharically, all the vicissitudes in life occur by this pot and clay association, and one can navigate and call something good, bad, indifferent, all those labels. So my question was, how can one use this on the psychological level
Right.
to address are there useful tools? Because in the journey, the expansiveness of this I, Brahman, to the universe, at times students journey through, and it's a process. So rather than get stuck, is there a tool? This same example, can it be used as a tool on a psychological level?
All right. You reminded me that I have not actually told you what I wanted to tell you in the whole talk. I just remembered. That's why I bought this book. So let me read out the verse. But now you'll understand the verse straight away. No explanation is needed. I'll chant the original Sanskrit and then give you the English translation, and you'll know immediately what it means. This is again from Aparoksha Anubhuti. At the end of the book, Shankaracharya reveals the heart of this technique, what's going on in Advaita Vedanta. This is verse number 135. Karye karanata yata karane nahi karyata karanatvam tato gachet karyabhave vicharata. In the effect, notice the cause. In the pot, notice the, don't say Brahman. In the pot, notice the clay. Then next, the clay alone, the cause alone exists. There is no such thing as effect. Clay alone exists. There is no such separate thing as pot. Karanatvam tato gachet. If there is no second reality called effect, then why call the cause a cause at all? He says causality of the cause is lost. Cause does not go away. Its causality is lost. It can no longer be called a cause. It's still there. Clay is still there. But you can't say clay is a cause of something else called pot. And then he says, so this is done vicharata, by analysis, by discernment, by an Advaitic insight. And then, what happens then? What have you gained from it? Verse 136. Atha shuddham bhaved vastu yadvai vacham agocharam drashtavyam mridghate naiva drishtantena punah punah. What remains? Atha shuddham bhaved vastu. Pure being alone remains. So why didn't you point it out first? Straight away, why didn't you point it out that pure being, Brahman alone is the reality? Vacham agocharam. It cannot be pointed out by words. You need this process of cause and effect. Superimposition, desuperimposition. So what do? Use the clay pot example, Mridghata, clay pot example, and think about it again and again. And verse number 139. Karye hi karanam pashyet paschat karyam visarjayet karanatvam tato gachet avashishtam bhavet munihi. See the cause in the effect. Then notice that the effect, let go of the effect. There's no effect. There's only the cause. Then the causality of the cause is lost because there's no effect. So what is left over? What is left over? The causality of the cause is lost. Very beautifully Shankaracharya puts it. What is left over? You. Avashishtam bhavet munihi. The sage alone remains. You. Muni means the sage, the one who is doing this, the seeker. The seeker alone remains. Remember, universe, consciousness is introduced. Everything in this universe is in consciousness. This universe is not apart from consciousness. So there's no second thing called the universe. Then don't call consciousness a cause of the universe. Consciousness apart from the cause and effect. Oh, okay, so that's you. So now, is this what you do it with it practically if you're asking? There's an important point. After all of this also, Vyavaharika, in the transactional world, what will change? Nothing. This will just be like this. But you now realize the reality of it all. You are no longer identified with body and mind. The body and mind still appear. Now you live in this body and mind. Body, mind, person reappear to you again. But now you live in this. The pot continues, but knowing that it's not a pot. Knowing that you are not body-mind. With the aging of the body, with the death of the body, with ups and downs of the mind, you are not affected at all. You realize that. You see it all the time. It's continuously available to you. What a tremendous difference this makes. But as far as your practical life is concerned, you can go on doing what you were doing. There is no limitation. There's no limitation, there's no restriction. Oh, now you're enlightened. All you have to do, the only thing you are allowed to read is Vedanta books. The only thing you're allowed to say is Om. No. You can go on doing whatever you were doing. Yeah. Gentleman there.
Swami, I'm just still processing what you just said, but I've always been troubled a little bit by the doctrine of the two truths, which is a Buddhist invented by one of the
Yes.
Mahasiddhas. And the implication is that there's a relative bodhicitta and then an absolute bodhicitta. And the question is about the problem of nihilism. If there, you could say that any kind of the problem of evil, the problem of moral truth, if you could say that all these are simply an imposition on this underlying isness, how do we avoid the trap of nihilism then? And I've always had difficulty understanding this notion of two truths. How can relative and absolute bodhicitta, logically they make sense, but where does that leave us as human beings?
Right. The only solution to nihilism is this. There's no other solution. Swami Vivekananda writes that it's very easy to talk. I've never met a real nihilist, a nihilist. It's very easy to talk that nothing can be known, everything is relative. No. This is the only answer possible. So no, religion is an answer. God exists, there's a moral code. Nobody believes that. God is dead. After Nietzsche, how can you talk on any campus? You go and talk about God, they'll laugh you out. So what are we left with? Nothing. We are left, right now we are left with nihil, nothing. The modern world. In the retreating sea of faith, what did the poet say? The retreating sea of faith, and we are, Matthew Arnold, I think. He says, receding, sea of faith is receding, and now there's a sad, forlorn state of affairs in the world. Where is basis? Where do you find foundation? Science offers you truth, but it's a cold truth. That there's only a material universe of whirling matter and energies. What is moral truth? What is good? What is evil? Pure accident and human construction. What are human beings? Just bubbling of matter. I was listening to a debate between a theologian and a scientist. The scientist saying that there is no such thing as God, even meaning and all these things are constructions of the human brain. What is real is matter. And all of that, whatever you call culture, religion, all of these are just byproducts of material goings on in the brain. And the theologian said very nicely, he had a bottle of Coke which he had opened there. He says, basically you are saying what is here and what's that fizzing thing in that bottle of Coke. We are basically the same thing. There's matter fizzing there, little more matter here, complex fizzing here. Is this what you are saying? Scientists will deny it, but this is what they are saying. What are they saying otherwise? Where is the answer? Answer does not lie in conventional religion. It is too late for that. You can't go back to infancy again. The only way is to go forward, and the way forward lies with these philosophies, the non-dual philosophies of Vedanta or Madhyamaka Buddhism, the two truths of Nagarjuna. Advaita talks of two truths. What she mentioned, Paramarthika and Vyavaharika, the absolute reality and the transactional reality which we inhabit. We are that absolute reality. But right now there is this transactional reality we seem to inhabit. Are there two truths? No, they are not. There is only one truth. But this multi-layered level of truth is introduced because, remember, these are all methodologies. These are superimposition and desuperimposition. A way to lead us to that one truth. Don't take the two-layered or three-layered idea of truth. This is the Pratibhasika, Vyavaharika and Paramarthika. The erroneous or illusory level, the transactional level which we inhabit right now, and the absolute level of Brahman. So three levels of truth. Or in Nagarjuna's terms, the Paramarthika and Samritti, Paramarthika Satyam and Samritti Satyam. What we call transactional, he calls Samritti, Vyavaharika or Samritti. So it's a methodology. Now what about moral truth? What about good and evil? What about God? What about values in life? All of them are real at this level. As long as you consider yourself to be a seeking individual, then if individual is real, the total is also real. Causality is real. If causality is real, law of karma is real. If law of karma is real, good and evil are real. This is why Vivekananda put it very simply. Good, good, bad, bad, and none escape the law. But whosoever wears a form, if you identify yourself with a body-mind, we all wear a form, but if you identify with it, he says, wears a chain too. Whosoever wears a form, wears the chain too. This is not Vedanta, by the way. This is not Vedanta. This is just the state of affairs which we are inhabiting. And here there is good and bad. There is karma. There is God. All of it is affirmed. Then what is Vedanta? He says, but far beyond is Atman ever free. Transcending all of this, underneath it, transcending it. Immanent and transcendent is the existence consciousness place. Then, know thou art that. Say Om Tat Sat Om. Know thou art that, sannyasi bold. Say Om Tat Sat Om. You realize that you are that. The whole point is to realize that. Then what are we to do? This two truths is the only way. Nagarjuna, nearly 2000 years ago, he says that if the ultimate reality is emptiness, shunyata, so why not go there straight away? Why consider this world? He says, no. It's a beautiful sentence. He says, Samvrittim manashritya paramartham nadhigamyate. Without accepting this relative level of truth, nobody ever will realize the ultimate truth. For him, ultimate truth is emptiness. But you cannot realize that unless you take advantage of the Buddha, of the Sangha, of the teachings, of a moral life, of an ethical life, until you use causality to go beyond causality. It is because of that transcendent level, everything here has meaning. If you deny the transcendent level, that is nihilism. Yeah. Can I take, how much time do I have? Oh, well, I've got time. Let me take a little bit of time. Listen to this carefully. I know, my question first. Which one? Nagarjuna's line. Nagarjuna, what Nagarjuna said. Which one?
Your statement, if you deny the transcendental, then you're a nihilist.
Yeah, if you deny the transcendental, it's because of the transcendental, everything in life has meaning. If you deny that, as, say, a modern materialist reductionist will, for the materialist reductionist, the ultimate reality is matter, is energy. This transcendent reality, call it God, Brahman, Shunya, whatever you are, it's just a product of your construction of your consciousness. And what is your consciousness? It's just the bubbling of matter in your brain. It's the fizzing of the Coke bottle. What is real is the Coke bottle and the Coke in it. Your fantasies about God and heaven and Shunya and Brahman and Atman, they're all fantasies. Once the body dies, you're gone, finished. So this is the materialist reductionist worldview. This is nihilism. This is nihilism. This is where we are caught. This level of reality is given meaning by the transcendent. Science works at this level. And science explains this level very well. But underneath it is a deeper reality. Then only life has meaning if Brahman exists. If I am that Brahman, then only this life also has meaning. The pot exists really only if clay exists. It is the existence of the clay which we call the existence of the pot. Wittgenstein, to my mind, one of the most brilliant minds the world has produced. Certainly in the 20th century, maybe the most brilliant mind ever. He says in his, I don't know where he said it, but he said, when all the great questions of science will have been answered, all the problems of science will have been solved, nothing of importance to humanity will have been answered. None of the questions important to humanity will have been answered. What a stunning statement. When all the grand unified theory and all these things which we are thinking about right now, he says, suppose these are solved. Nothing of importance to human life will have been answered. No question of importance to human life will have been answered. meaning, value, purpose, ultimate goal. Science is neutral about these things. I wanted to say, hold on to that. I know, I'll come to you next here. But let me take a few minutes. I can show what you are talking about. It's very interesting. The Advaitic saying, Tat Tvamasi. Tat Tvam Asi. That thou art. We know this. But think about it deeply. It is, again, I claim no originality here. It's a teacher in Vrindavan, a non-dualist teacher, who said this. He said, that thou art. Think about it. All of spiritual life can be divided. All religions and all spiritual seeking is of basically two types. There are these God-oriented religions which are God-oriented. What else can they be? They can be. In India, it's well understood. You can have religions without God. So there are God-oriented religions, and there are religions which are self-enquiry oriented. I will not say self-oriented, that sounds selfish. Self-enquiry oriented religions. So God-oriented religions, Shaktaism, Vaishnavism, Shaivism, Judaism, Christianity, Islam, these are God-oriented religions. They are, what in this language, they can be called that-oriented religion. Because here in this sentence, that stands for God. And there are religions like Buddhism, Jainism, Yoga, Sankhya, Yoga. They are self-enquiry oriented religions. Now, each has its advantage, each has its disadvantage. People, religious seekers are also of this type. If you take a poll here, you will find we fall either in this category or that category. I have asked young men who came to be monks in the monastery in Belur, I sometimes used to ask, what appeals to you more? Some of them would say, I'm searching for God. I'm searching for God. Some of them would say, I want to know who am I, the inquiry within. Two kinds. Now if you ask these two approaches to spiritual life, and they are different. God-oriented religions are generally devotional, ceremonial, they are community-oriented. You will have festivities and ceremonies and temples and churches and mosques. Lay people-oriented mostly, mass religions. The self-enquiry based religions are usually more monastic in nature, like Buddhism. They are more meditation-oriented, they are more knowledge-oriented, more introspective. Here you would see a temple, there you would see a meditation hall. So you have I'm painting in broad strokes here. Now, each has its advantage and disadvantage. This is the point. And then I've noticed that I have not included Advaita here in any of these. Each has advantage and disadvantage. The God-oriented religions, they have one big disadvantage. What is that? God. What is the disadvantage? Does God exist? Every God-oriented religion has struggled to prove the existence of God. Thomas Aquinas' 5 ways of proving the existence of a God in Christian theology. Udayana acharya, the great Nayayika, who predated Aquinas by 200-300 years. He has 10 or 10 ways of proving the existence of God. So the Hindu dualists who were under attack by the Buddhists, they wanted to prove that God exists. The Christians, Muslims, Islam has the Kalam argument for proving the existence of God. So why are they so desperate to prove the existence of God? Because it's not at all obvious. What do people in this path face? Doubt. Doubt. Plagued by doubt. Mother Teresa, very touching. In her last years of life, you see the records that I pray and pray and pray, and in return I hear only silence. At the end of her life, not at the beginning, I'm plagued by doubt. So it's a spiritual problem. Does God exist? If God exists, perfect. God is infinite, omnipotent, omniscient, omnipresent, all powerful, all loving. God is fantastic if God exists. If God exists, God has no problem. So, whereas the self-enquiry oriented religions, they don't have this problem. Note, I exist, nobody doubts it. You will not find 5 ways of proving my own existence. Nobody, it's ridiculous. 10 proofs of my own existence, ridiculous. Yeah, if you want to prove that the immortal soul exists, like the Nayakas wanted to prove, yes, you have to struggle for that. But right now, I am something, I exist. Descartes says, cogito ergo sum, I think, therefore I exist. Advaitin would say that I exist, therefore I think, but whatever. My own existence is indubitable, it is certain. The one thing I'm certain of is my own existence. Consciousness is self-certifying. You are conscious, and in your own existence, one thing you are certain about is your own consciousness. Even the body may be an illusion. Every night we dream, and in dreams we have a body. And when we wake up, we say, oh, that body was an illusion, it was in a dream. But my consciousness dreamt. That we cannot deny. So consciousness, I am. There's no doubt about that. It is certain. This one is not certain. Open to doubt. This is certain. But that it is certain is nothing very wonderful. My certain existence is surrounded by millions of problems. I exist, that is the problem. I have birth and death, financial problems, mental problems, physical problems. I've got relationship problems, parking problems, and small problems and big problems. So many problems. And God has no problem at all. All powerful, wonderful. If God exists. I exist, surely, but I have so many problems. Now, here is the crux. What Advaita Vedanta does, if you really understand it, it's fantastic. I mean, incredible. What it does is, it puts them together. That infinite existence, God, and this certain existence, you, is an infinite certainty. You surely do exist, you cannot deny it. And Advaita will show you this certain existence of yourself is an infinite, unlimited existence. Your problems are solved. There is no doubt remaining anymore, no problem remaining anymore. If you understand Advaita, it's obvious. At least philosophically obvious, at least logically obvious. You cannot deny it logically. You might say it has not changed my life. We'll take care of that later. That's why the next 2 sessions are there. But at this point, you must say it's logically obvious that I exist, and if I'm properly educated in the Advaitic way of thinking, what it does is it removes my limitations. I'm not a little being. I'm infinite existence consciousness. God's infinity and your certainty make a wonderful partnership. They are not a partnership, an identity, an infinite, certain existence consciousness bliss. This is what Advaita does to you. In Advaitic point of view, there is no doubt at all and no problem at all. In the dualistic religions, no problem, but doubt. In the self-inquiry based religions, no doubt, but problem. Put them together, and therefore, not only that, Advaita becomes a foundation for harmony. I'll say this and end. We'll take it up later. Don't worry, we have plenty of time for questions. I won't have much to say in the next 2 sessions. Enlightenment, basically. So, Advaita, I'll end with this. Advaita is a beautiful foundation for harmony. Because Advaita knows what the devotional religions are going towards and what the Buddhists and the yogis are going towards is one and the same reality. One Sufi put it so beautifully. When I searched for Allah, Tat, I found myself. When I searched for myself, I found Allah. How much more clear can you get? Meister Eckhart puts it this way. The ground of God and the ground of my being are one and the same. That means there is a reality behind God and there is a reality behind me. It's the same reality. That is the Advaitic Tattvamasi, that thou art. I think it's a great note to end upon. Thank you. Thank you so much.